your skin, that shit is popping, girl. Body on 10, damn, you got it, girl. You gotta boss up. Getting them checks, living your best. Racks up. Oh, keep walking with confidence. Effortlessly, you let them know who is in command. You just that and more. Don't forget it. God worked hard on you for sure. Lexus Exodus. Shout out to my exes.
This is actually a really good question. You might want to ask your bald-headed mama what she would do. Me, myself, I would just either wear my hair curly, straight, put it in a ponytail, or a bun. Hope that answers your question.
Hey, boos, hey! It is Lexus Exodus, leader of the Black Woman Exodus. How are you guys doing? Like always, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Please share. Please comment in the comment section. Say what's up to me in the chat. Let me know that you're listening. And then also, once you have a moment, please pause the video and follow the backup page. That's LexX, Lexex, and you'll find it in the description below. Before we get started, shout out to CG for the Cash App, girl. Thank you so much. I don't want to dox you, so I'll just use your initials. I really, really appreciate you, and I appreciate all the love. Thank you. So let's get started with the Ask Lex segment where viewers can write into me for questions if you want advice or any feedback from me or from the audience. If you have a question, feel free to email me at my Gmail at lexusexoduschannel@gmail.com. So today's email is going to be from Miss Bay. Hey, Miss Bay. Bay says, hi, Lexus. I'm a 31-year-old woman who is new to the divestment world. I'm currently finishing up my Bachelor of Business Administration and Marketing. I graduate in December. And I am also considering pursuing either a master's or a JD after graduation. That's what's up. Big ups to you. That's awesome. My question for you, Lex, is do you have any advice on navigating these dating apps? As much as men of different races seem somewhat interested, and I match with them quite often, I've been having a hard time having any success with these apps. Also, at the moment, I'm not financially where I would like to be. Do you think I should put dating on hold until I'm in a better spot? Or do you think most men don't care about that as long as you're pursuing your dreams or goals? I love your channel and would love your feedback. Thank you. All right, babe. Thanks so much. Thank you for writing in, sweetheart. And thank you so much for the support and for the love. Oh, so she's asking about dating apps today. Sheesh. So if you guys don't know already, I met my husband online back in 2016 on a dating app. So I definitely can give some feedback here. I encourage every single Black woman to date online, especially if you are a divester, for several reasons. I'm a very, very big proponent of online dating. So for several reasons. So one, you're able to broaden your horizons. So if you're in Blackistan and it's not realistic to think that, you're going to meet Prince Charming, you're not going to meet this dream non-Black guy who is an MD on your doorstep. It doesn't work like that. So these men that you're looking for aren't just going to be on your front porch. And even if he was, he probably wouldn't even approach you, just because in my experience, non-Black men are less direct and are they're not aggressive at all when it comes to courting when you compare them to Black men. Which brings me to my second reason why I recommend online dating for Black women. Non-Black men are not as forward as what we're used to. So even if he's very interested, he's not going to be doing all that aggressive, overt-ish. So we're used to that. Hey, girl, you fine. Hey, let me get your number. Your man don't let you have friends. We're accustomed to that. Non-Black men just don't do that, quite frankly. And online dating allows them to feel more comfortable shooting their shot, especially when it comes to Black women, which they may not be accustomed to approaching. So tips. So what I would do if I were you, or what worked well for me, I would try the paid dating sites if you're not having much luck. And that's because these men they tend to have a vested interest. in order to be on those websites. So you're going to find the creeps online on Tinder and on POF. You talked about how you match well with a lot of the men on there. So it sounds like you're using Tinder. Tinder, back when I was single, it was known as a hookup site. So I'm not surprised that you're not having much luck. But a lot of the free sites in general, since there's not any barrier to entry, you're going to see all the losers on there who aren't seriously dating, but are just kind of looking for someone to sleep with. So when I can't remember, I think I joined Match.com, and they give you a free trial if you're a woman, just because they want more women on the site. I've met attorneys, I met investment bankers, and several other distinguished men on Match. So I would try that, maybe OkCupid. I met my husband on a free platform, but it's just a little bit more difficult. So you can find good men on the free sites. It just requires a little bit more vetting and a little bit more time. Also, I would go into it with a checklist of what you're looking for and what you like and don't like. So I know, like, the running joke is, what was Sierra's prayer when she met Russell Wilson? I personally, in my opinion, don't think there was one. What I think is, after dating Future and 50 Cent and Bow Wow and all those other loser nignogs, I think that through trial and error, Sierra just naturally learned what she didn't like and what she would tolerate and what she wouldn't, and had a really clear idea of, what was her priorities when dating. So personally, I did that when I was on my dating. So a few things from my list. It was so long ago, I don't really remember, but I do remember one thing I had on my list is, okay, whoever that I entertain seriously, he needs to be either educated, or if he's not educated, he needs to have a very lucrative, successful career in whatever profession that he's in, so that he can match what I bring to the table. Also, a deal breaker for me was he can't have any kids. I just wasn't interested in dating anyone with children. He needs to be a man of faith. I was raised a Christian. I've changed my beliefs as I've grown over the years. But at that time, I was a very, very conservative Christian. What else? Oh, one thing, he needs to have integrity. He needs to be honest. And every time a man would reach out to me that I thought could possibly be a good match, I would think of that list and I would cross-reference his profile with that list, look at what I was looking for to make sure it aligned with what I was looking for before responding. So if I came across a guy with 4 kids from a former marriage, no, thank you, not interested. If I looked at a person's profession and it said he worked at Starbucks, yeah, I'm not interested. I'm going to leave him on red. So that was what worked really well for me. Also, another thing that worked really well for me is just taking my time. So you'll meet a lot of men online who are going to want to meet you same day. And I wouldn't do that unless you feel comfortable. Another thing I did is I would do these like informal background checks on these mother effers before meeting them in person. And I know my day ones who've been following me and viewing my videos since the beginning are probably screaming through the phone, right? Or not the phone, through the screen right now. Because I've been saying I'm going to drop a vetting video, and I recorded one, but just never released it because my husband was on there. But essentially, the video really talked through in detail, the type of methods that I use to vet. So you can vet people pretty easily by accessing public records. So public government data on the men that you meet, almost everything is public record. So if I were you, I would be searching arrest records. That's public record and that's free. You can access marriage records, divorce records, make sure that they don't have, lawsuits for child support. You can even research property records, making sure that he actually owns the home that he alleges that he owns, police reports, things like that. And was able to dodge quite a few bullets by simply doing that, doing my due diligence and doing quick searches like that in my city, just to make sure that I wasn't dealing with any weirdos. So I would encourage you to do that. And then the other thing I will say is just keep your options open. There's no rush. Like you said, many men have expressed interest in you. It will continue to be like that. Like, you're going to have hundreds of people who reach out to you. Don't commit to any of them. Don't commit to any of them. I had a great time when I was single and I was dating. So don't commit to any of them. Be very picky until you find exactly what you're looking for. And then quickly, lastly, you asked if you should date, although you have some more progress you want to make financially. And you asked, do men care about financial status? So quite frankly, the men that you want to meet, they couldn't care less about what you have in the bank. I will say, though, it's your preference on if you think that, it's a good decision to date right now or not. For me, when I was newly divorced and single, I was in survival mode because, I suddenly had become a single mother. I had left an abusive situation where I was homeless for a month. And I had to rebuild. So once I finally got an apartment, I was focused. I was laser sharp focused and wasn't worried about dating. It was really, really important for me to take time off so I could pour every single ounce of time and energy I had into, making my circumstances better, especially because I had a son too. So I didn't date. I didn't date at all for a while because I just really wouldn't have felt good about being out with someone cupcaking when I knew I needed to use that time to figure out how to get into a better situation. But that's totally different. Your circumstances, I mean, if you're in your early 20s and you're young and single with no responsibilities and, are a broke college student, obviously that's a lot different than being a single, newly divorced mom. And I would tell you, if that's your scenario, live your life, date and have fun, do whatever the hell you want to do, meet as many men as you want to. So I really think that that's just based on your circumstances and it's your personal preference on what you think is best. So that's my thoughts. You guys who are listening, please feel free to share your suggestions or your ideas and feedback in the chat or in the comment section below. So let's get into it. Here's another installment of my daily series called the Blackistan Zoo, where we profile the derelicts, dusties, and crazy creatures in Blackistan. This series premieres daily, Monday through Friday at 6:30 ET. Let's do it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about your preference. So your preference, her appearance. So she looks racially ambiguous. She's a non-Black woman who is one of those exoticals, like they like to call them. Her behavior. So your preferences are racially ambiguous women who are pedestalized by Tyrone. And it's because these Nick Dogs are self-hating and they worship everything non-Black. So these preferences are Myleen's, they're your Marias, they're your Beckys, even your biracial Beckys, and they are put on a pedestal and they are fetishized by Nick Dogs simply for their non-Black features. And here's the thing, though, that we know with these preferences, although they get gassed up regularly by these Tyrones who like to convince them to believe that they're better than Black women and that they're prizes, they are quickly chewed up, spit out, and cut down to size. Once they get pumped and dumped by these Tyrones, once they're abandoned as single mothers with bastard babies, once they get cheated on, mistreated, oftentimes we'll see them getting abused and beaten, and sometimes even in extreme circumstances, they're getting maimed and murdered by these men who claim that they are preferences. So notable preferences. So we think of Sin Santana, who was Latina, like Paris Milan says. She was well documented for saying that, these men treat her better, but ended up getting pumped and dumped. Same with Erica Mina, who was cheated on by Safari and pumped and dumped as well. Now it just turns out last week she put him on blast because their baby is in the NICU while he's out parlaying with the next chick, the next exotical preference. Also another notable one, Aniko Hart, whose husband cheated on her. So Kevin Hart cheated on her birthday, I believe it was, while she was at home pregnant, carrying his child. So we can think of so many other preferences who, have been pedestalized, but then get a harsh reality check when they are chewed up and spit out by these niggers. So now that we know your profile of your preference, I want to look at your preference in real time. And so look at and really examine real life examples of your preferences, especially as they interact with their Tyrone. So let's look at this first one.
This my son that your dumb ass keep worrying about, huh, bitch? Huh, bitch. This your stupid fat ass, huh, bitch? Huh, bitch, look, give your broke ass some money. Let me help you out with your broke ass. Let me give your broke ass some money. You over here selling fake jewelry, bitch, with your weird ass. Weird ass bitch. I put 50K on your face for fun, bitch. Dumb ass bitch. Fat ass bitch. I'm on your stupid ass. This my son that your dumb ass keep worrying about, huh, bitch? Huh, bitch.
So he is talking about the mother.
Huh, bitch, look, give your broke ass some
cussing,
money.
being
Let
lewd
me
and
help you out
vile
with your broke ass. Let me give your broke ass
while
some
the
money. You over
baby
here
is sitting
selling
there
fake
hearing
jewelry,
this
bitch,
ish.
with your weird ass. Weird ass bitch. I put 50K on your face for fun, bitch. Dumb ass bitch.
Okay, enough of that, Nignog. So a few things here. So I don't know if you guys could see there, but she's a Latina. She's also a baby mom. So even though they like to talk about how these other races of women are submissive and they cater to them, and they're exotical and they're the preference, she still has a naked ring finger and still has become a statistic because of this Nignog as well. And did y'all hear how nasty and vile he was when talking about her? And this is even around their small child. It looks like the little boy's in diapers. And we know that kids are sponges at that age. So he's soaking up this mistreatment and this maltreatment. And he will likely follow in his dad's footsteps because that's the bar that his father is setting. So these fools are so vile and nasty. And he's saying all this, I think at the beginning he said, because she's concerned about their child. And it's like, come on, man. Like, seriously. But this is your typical Tyrone. It doesn't matter how submissive you are, how hardworking you are, how much you mule. You could be cooking, cleaning, a sexing machine who pee-pops on a handstand with a law degree. And on top of that, you can be one of these IG models that they like. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a preference. If you're a preference, you're still going to be treated like shat and mistreated and discarded by these men. This is what they do. So I also wanted to share this story that went viral a few weeks ago that I never covered, but I think it's very fitting for this show since we're detailing how these fools like to treat their preferences. So let's watch this clip of this preference. She rejects this Tyrone and he resorts to going to get a gun.
You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing you, bitch. You ain't embarrassing me. Who is you? Who is you? Who is you? Nobody to you. Oh my god. Oh my god. Bitch. Go. What the fuck?
So this went viral a few weeks back. So you guys are probably already privy to the story. If you're not, what we just watched is a Tyrone approaching a woman. He's, giving advances towards his preference and she declines. And the weirdo threatens her with the gun. And it even sounded like we heard gunshots. So I don't know if he just brandished it or if he actually shot at them, which either way is freaking disgusting. It's like, man up, dude. Like, she's not interested, going about your way. But I want to show you guys the preference. So here she is. Here's her Instagram. She's a non-Black person. I don't know what race she is, what ethnicity she is. But she fits the profile of their preference. And this is indicative of how they treat their so-called preferences. You're the first one led to slaughter, though. So I want this situation to really illustrate, and all the other examples that we look at this evening, is that although these men will gas up these women into thinking that there's something special, into thinking that, they're the best thing since sliced bread, They don't get preferential treatment, because at the end of the day, they're going to get abused. They're going to get, berated, degraded. Like we saw that man cussing out the mother of his child. They get mistreated. This man tried to assault them with a gun. So they're getting the same poor treatment, even though this is their so-called preference. Okay, so next story, trigger warning. I want to preface this with a trigger warning. These next few stories actually will involve violence. So if you're sensitive to things like that, I encourage you to proceed with caution. So shout out to Treese for sharing this next story about a thug and his Barnyard Becky preference, who both got arrested because the authorities found their baby in the freezer. So this is a tough one. Again, trigger warning. But I want to listen to this news story, and then I want to talk through.
Fourth, forensic units and detectives raid this home in the 6400 block of Lookout Point Circle in Chesterfield County. A freezer is secured and removed, loaded onto a flatbed tow truck. Crime Insider sources tell me inside, the body of a little boy was found, and he'd been there for almost 2 years.
We needed to have an autopsy done, and we worked really well with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. They brought in some specialists, some forensic anthropologists to help us out on this. And it got to a point where, it took a little bit of time to actually thaw things, that way they could actually do the work that they needed to do to help us try to determine.
Did he just say thaw things?
Police identified the young boy as Alil Adon Weaver. This is a picture of him on a Christmas card sent to neighbors about 4 years ago. His parents, 49-year-old Cassine and 48-year-old Dina Weaver, have been arrested and charged with conspiracy to conceal a body and failure to render aid to a child.
I anticipate, the final autopsy result hopefully coming out in the next few weeks. At that point in time, we'll sit down with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and have a comprehensive review of everything we have at that point, and take a look at the final autopsy reports and make a determination then if more charges or additional charges are appropriate.
CI sources tell me Dina had been threatened by her husband. Those same sources add family members were told to refer to him as my lord.
CCPD wow, he was a weirdo.
Between the two, Cassine also charged with domestic assault and malicious wounding of his wife.
It's a difficult case for anybody to have to work on something like this.
So what exactly happened to the boy? It's part of an ongoing investigation. CI sources tell me there were several times Dina was at work and had to go home because Alil was unresponsive. Heartbreaking for those who knew him in his Chesterfield waterfront community.
Many of us are parents too, and you see something like that. I think it certainly can take a toll on you, but I'd like to think that we do our job very professionally, and we're able to stay focused on what the mission is here, and keep things in their space. But at the end of the day, those things do take a toll on you. So we do offer peer support and other counseling to our people here, just to make sure that if there's anything that they need to talk about.
Child, y'all. So that's my first time actually watching that news clip, and this is so disgusting, y'all. This is so disgusting, so disturbing. So here we have this Tyrone and his preference arrested because authorities found their little child who was under 5 years old. He looks about 3 or maybe even younger. They found his body in the freezer, and they're talking about it's been there for at least 2 damn years, y'all. Sheesh. And they also talked about in the news clip about how this nigger was charged with domestic assault and malicious wounding of his preference. It also talks about how she's had to leave work several times because the baby was unresponsive. So clearly what happened here is he went off. He must have lost his temper or something, and he hurt that baby and hurt him so badly that he was in critical condition, and they freaked out and panicked instead of calling the authorities like they should have. And they stored the damn baby in the freezer. This is so effed up, y'all. But this is what happens. This is what happens, y'all. We see this every day. I get so many of these stories about these preferences. They'll get with these Tyrone, and they'll be talking about superficial-ish. They'll be talking about BBCs and all this dumb, stupid, surface-level nonsense, how good he is in bed, and they'll end up with these poor little biracial babies, and they'll get pumped and dumped to single mothers sometimes, or in extreme circumstances, it ends up deadly, like this situation did. Child, that is so crazy. Okay, so let's keep moving. So this next story, I want to give a shout out to JM. She always sends me, I mean, she's the biggest MVP. She always sends me stories. And I actually think she shared the suggestion for this video. So thank you, JM. She also shared a story about a former NFL player who's currently being investigated for the disappearance of his preference girlfriend. So let's watch this next news story, then we will talk through.
Tonight, when it comes to the case of Taylor Pomaski, she's been missing for nearly 2 months. She vanished after a party was thrown at her home in spring.
Taylor's boyfriend was arrested just over a week ago, accused of violating bond conditions. And now Kevin Ware Jr., the former NFL player, is mentioned as a suspect in Taylor's disappearance in court records.
Our Michael Laparty is live now with the new information. So, Michael, what is Ware's attorney saying tonight?
Chris Ware's defense attorney says that this was all news to him when he read it for the first time in that court document. Tonight, a new development in the legal case of former NFL player Kevin Ware. In a court filing, a Montgomery County prosecutor wrote that Ware is a suspect in a murder investigation relating to the disappearance of his girlfriend, Taylor Pomaski.
That's the first time we've seen that. That filing is the first time that it's been suggested that he is a suspect.
Kobe DeBose is one of Ware's defense attorneys.
He's been cooperative. He's told the police everything that he knows, and he's led them through his house. He's let them in his home. And that's really all we're going to say about that.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office says Pomaski was last seen in April. Ware was arrested earlier this month, accused of violating bond conditions on previous controlled substance and firearm charges. The assistant DA's comments about Ware being a suspect connected to Pomaski were included in a motion asking that Ware's bail be increased or denied. Despite the court document, a spokesman for the Sheriff's Office would only say that Ware is one of several people that investigators are questioning who interacted with Pomaski before she disappeared. When we followed up with the Montgomery County DA's office, a spokesman said he had no comment.
Did Mr. Ware have anything to do with Taylor Pomaski's disappearance? I'm not going to talk about that. Certainly, I don't think so. We don't know any facts that suggest that.
The court records show the defense attorney is now requesting copies of reports, statements, and other materials connected to the Pomaski investigation. The bond hearing for the other case, that is scheduled for next Tuesday. Reporting live in Conroe, Michael Laparty, KPRC 2 News.
Whew. So this demon is on here with the big old Kool-Aid smile y'all just saw, and I can't. The news story said that the preference was last seen in April, so several months ago. We're in July now, and y'all, I was reading the comments. Let's see if I can pull them up, because I want y'all to see this shit. Let's see. Should not to concern if he did it. I said, yeah. Okay. So here we go. So this person, she comments, no, high value Black men, they don't treat their preferences like this because they're submissive and such. Y'all. I also saw one that said verbatim, that's how Blackistan treats their preferences. And mind you, this is a random news story, and this happened just a week ago. And I don't know these people, but they know what's up. Like, if you go through the comments, here it is, this is how Blackistan treats its preferences. And it's like, y'all, like when I tell y'all slip is showing, Tyrone. So they like to talk about how I cherry pick these stories. And it's like, no, Naker, I'm not cherry picking anything. This is your tendency, and the stats will show it. If you look at the data, it illustrates how this is your tendency. You have higher domestic violence rates. When we think about the 700 Black women who have been had their lives brutally ended this year, it's all interracial violence, meaning that it's all been at the hands of Tyrones. So no, these people just know what's up. They're observing this and they know what's happening. I can't imagine that they've listened to my content and have been impacted. No, they see this. This is a random news story, and they talking about escape Blackistan in the comments. Y'all, so I'll be watching this story. Yeah, so I mean, these preferences get this preferential treatment, then they get pedestalized and get their heads gassed up just to end up on the nightly news. They get set up for the okie doke. I don't think there's any leads. At least I hadn't seen any recent updates recently, but I'll continue watching this and we'll keep y'all posted. But I don't think it will end well. Okay, so let's keep it moving to this last story. And shout out to JM again, where she talks about a preference who was found in a burned car in Atlanta. So let's watch this one and then we will chat.
Case has now turned into a murder investigation. Authorities say a burned body found on the side of the road Friday is that of a woman who was reported missing last week.
Police tell us someone abducted the woman the day before in northwest Atlanta. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes joins us now live from South Fulton with new details. Deidre?
A sad end to the search for Brittany Wickline, this missing person case turning into a murder investigation. We talked to a friend of hers who said he was actually on the phone with her the morning she was abducted, and today he had a message for her killer.
His judgment will come.
Louis Rosario haunted by his last phone call with Brittany Wickline. The two had become good friends in the short time they'd known each other. Rosario was working here at this corner grocery store the morning of the abduction and says the 31-year-old woman was walking to meet him when she was kidnapped just a few blocks up the road.
She called me about 1:03 in the morning. And before she ended up saying something to me, her phone got snatched.
He said he was on the phone with her when he heard an angry male voice in the background.
I didn't think of anything. I thought it was just somebody that, know her or something, and hung up on his face.
According to the APD report, the 31-year-old woman and another individual were walking along Joseph E. Boone Boulevard in northeast Atlanta when her abductor pulled up in a car and told her to get into the vehicle. She got in the car, and that was the last time she was reportedly seen alive. The man who was walking with her when she was taken and another individual told police that the kidnapper said Wickline was responsible for his mother's house being shot up and demanded first $50,000 and then later a $100,000 ransom. A family member contacted police about 12 hours after Wickline was taken, and APD's intelligence unit and the FBI were called in to assist investigators in the search for the missing woman. Her body was found in the city of South Fulton along Jones Road off of Campbellton Fairburn Road early Friday morning.
We're working with APD. We got to meet with APD now. Just trying to gather all the footage from the area that we can get, go back and get other witnesses so we can actually get a complete story of how she wound up in that area and how she actually wound up in the city of South Fulton.
Now, investigators are reviewing surveillance video that they show the woman getting into that vehicle that morning. That video from nearby surveillance cameras and from area stores there. They also are following various leads in the case. Anyone with information has to contact South Fulton Police. Atlanta PD assisting in the investigation. In South Fulton, Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
Oh my gosh, guys. Wow. So yeah, this is crazy. So this woman got abducted by a Tyrone. And so, before we get too far in depth with this story, one thing I noticed, and this is totally a side note, but I wanted to make sure that I share with you guys. I've noticed people in the chat, trolls coming in asking stupid ass questions, asking like, oh, what's a Tyrone, or what's a mammy, or what does this term mean? Do not respond to them. And mods, if you see shit like that, go ahead and block them. That way they can't comment on the channel. What they're trying to do is they're trying to fish for information. They want you guys to define what those terms mean. That way they can have an excuse to share that information to YouTube. And that's what they're doing. They're just trolling. So if you see stuff like that, ignore it. We know, obviously use common sense and use context. We know exactly what we're referring to. You got to be a big old dummy to honestly at this point not know what those phrases mean. But anyway, okay, so back to the story. So they talk about how this fool abducted her and then demanded money from the family. So he demanded $50,000, then $100,000. This is just sad. So they ended up finding her in a burnt car shortly after. And I wanted to say, did y'all notice how there's several Tyrones that they said in this story witnessed the kidnapping, but they did nothing to help this woman? So we had that guy earlier talking about how he was on the phone with her at the time and heard a random guy approach her angrily. And then she suddenly hung up and he didn't do nothing. He didn't even call the police or anything. They also, I think they said a damn man was walking with the girl and allowed her to get in the car with this fool. And I can't. There is no protection for women in Blackistan at all. Not even if you're a preference. Even if you're Maria, even if you're Becky, Myling, or whoever, they just gonna sit and watch your ass get snatched up and get your life taken away from you like this young lady unfortunately experienced. Then when you say, damn, you could have at least called 911, Tyrone, they gonna say no snitching or some other stupid shit like that. But I say all that to say, this is your preference, guys. So these Marias, these barnyard Beckys, these biracial Beckys, these are the women who receive this so-called preferential treatment, who are all pedestalized, who are worshipped by these men just to turn around and be treated like shit. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It's like winning the lucky lottery ticket to be the first to board a sinking ship. You the first to board the Titanic messing with these nakers. You're the winning cow who's going to be the first in line to be led to slaughter when you're a preference here. So if you are a racially unambiguous Black woman, thank your lucky stars. I know that this might sound very cliche and it doesn't feel good in the moment, but I truly do believe, that when you're not a preference and you don't receive that preferential treatment, so-called preferential treatment, it really is like when religious people say, all that you wanted back then, thank God it was withheld from you because you were being protected. You dodged a bullet. Because you could have very well ended up like these women and ended up on somebody's milk carton, ended up in a missing persons poster, getting abducted, beaten, maimed, and murdered by one of these fools. So, all right, y'all. That's all I got. I really appreciate you all for listening. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See you guys. Bye.
If y'all come across a red iPhone, can you please bring it to the sound stage? Red iPhone, appreciate it.